We're gonna rally. We're gonna rally. It's the last one.
Yeah.
We are so pumped for this. I'm gonna take a nap once I start the movie. I'll wake up, finish the presentation. My name is Jose Navarro. I'm the principal of the Social Justice Humanitas Academy. We'll do a little more about that after we show this movie.
Hi, I'm John Haas, and I'm a teacher and coordinator at Social Justice Humanitas Academy.
Both of us were on the original design team, and we put a couple PowerPoint slides together trying to explain our history. We thought it'd be better if you just saw we had an organization, Teachers Suck at Marketing, and so we had somebody help us out. You know, like, we're competing with a lot of entities, and they said, well, let us help you out, because you guys are really busy. And this was the product. Go ahead, Jeff. I love being around teachers. I always know what that means. There's something that every time I always get choked up when I listen to it. At the end, Davin, the guy who made the movie, he asked me when I kind of got choked up, he said, what did this mean for your families? And it just, tremendous amount of effort. Everybody wants to be on a winning team. Everybody loves the Lakers when they're winning. Nobody ever wants to build a winning team. It's just a tremendous amount of effort. And it's really, really hard. And so we've been ridiculed. Literally people were throwing food at our kids at the Humanitas students while we were on the comprehensive campus, while we were fighting to move off. And it was just really bad. Adults just cussing each other out, yelling at us, and us always put our chin up, take the high road, and just going in the back of our mind, are we doing the right thing? Are we doing the right thing? And all you can do is put your values out in front of you and follow them.
Was that because they were, like, within the union, they thought you were kind of being union members union busting? Or what was their real...
In the back of when Monica Garcia, the president of the board at that time, that yelling, the people booing her and said, I don't know if the last line said, "You're the worst." That was our union, because we got a school. And they thought that the next step is we were going to destroy the union. They didn't think about supporting their own teachers. So before you try to put me in a box that, like, well, I'm an administrator and he's a teacher, when I was a firefighter, the captain and the firefighters are in the same union. My captain and I were in the same union, and we pushed back against the system together, whether it's the city, the state, the county, or the federal government. That's how I see myself now. I was on the original design team, and we looked around as to who we were going to hire for our principal, and we realized we needed a principal who was a teacher. We needed a principal who thought like a teacher. So it's not that you don't need a principal. You need one that thinks the right way. And the first interview question is, would you be willing to teach a class? And if they're not, then who's the next candidate? Jeff, I'm sorry, that was a little bit long introduction, but you want to go ahead and just introduce yourself a little bit?
Yeah, no, I mean, I was...
And your moment in the video?
Yeah, well, Jose likes it when I start. I'm a fiddler, so I was always fiddling my ring. Yeah, it was. I don't think you can see you can't see in the video how much we all aged during that process. We started. You teach the full day, and we wrote a 153-page plan for our school while we were teaching. And so this group that started out as 22 teachers was meeting after school from like 3 to sometimes 8:30 at night, sometimes later. We got the whole week off for Thanksgiving that year, the first time in LA. Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday. We were down in that office that you saw us in the LAP gave us a lot of logistical support, including office space to work in. Yeah, like it was a rough time, but also at the end that team you needed, we forged the team. So the 22 went down to 8, and we found the 8 people that when we moved were the right people. The other people we still know lots of them. They're doing their thing at somewhere else. This didn't fit, but the 8 people we brought were solid, and most of us are still there.
During that time, we realized that unity can't be forced, it must be forged. And we joked that when we started the process, I was 6'5", I had long blonde hair. I looked like Fabio, and now I look like Frodo, Lord of the Rings, if you're not with me. It killed us. It took a lot of years off us, and it still does. So But we really, the servant leadership aspect of this is, if we didn't shift the paradigm in which decisions were made, in which way we looked at ourselves and our job was to be in service of these students, not to just house them for 9 months, but to be in service of the students. And then my job as principal to be in service, stewards of my teachers and for my teachers. So we had to shift it, otherwise we changed nothing. We shifted who we bitched at. That was it. That's all we did. So there had to be a fundamental shift. That was the hardest part. Right now we're going to talk about some of that.
But who we were interviewing, we actually had to go through the interview process for principals. And we had, in the end, the district said, we're going to collect the applications and we'll give you, whatever, here's the people and you can decide who you want to interview. And then our director, and I just noticed he's in the video and the whole time Jose's talking, he's like looking at someone next to him, he's talking to Debbie, and he's looking next to him like, he could see him laughing, it was crazy. So he comes to me, because I was in charge of the interview process, and he says, okay, well here's the questions you need to ask, and I'll be there, and so I'll ask them the questions, and you need to do these things, and I was pissed, because we spent time writing questions. And I just said, no. We wrote questions already, we know what we need. I was like, you of course are welcome to be there. If you want to ask one of our questions, that's fine. But no, this is our interview. And I think he didn't know what to say. Because I don't think anyone tells people like that no, especially not just a teacher. So he kind of just stared, and then we asked our questions. And
that was the beginning of
it was a turning point.
That was the beginning of us understanding the difference between authority and leadership. And those in authority aren't always leaders. Some of you guys know people that have titles that aren't leaders. And then you have leaders with no titles. And Jeff just said no. And literally, Jose Rodriguez was like, what do I do now?
Yeah.
And what did he do? He followed Jeff's lead. And Jeff led the interview process. I was one of the people that was interviewed. It was just that example of don't wait for the authority to do it. You got to seize the authority. But ultimately, you have to lead.
So logistically, it sounds like you were at school before with the principal within the district, and then you went, Humanitas was moving from one place to another. Was that from traditional triangle to teacher-led?
We were a small learning community within Sylmar High School,
Gotcha.
which is a mile and a half from where we are now. And so the last year we were there, we threatened to separate back in 2009.
Prop 39 came out, which allowed charter schools to co-locate.
Yeah.
And so we tried to use it, but we weren't a charter school. We were just a small learning community.
And we did. We leveraged some of that to get some free stuff. We got a couple of carts full of laptops and a copy machine.
There's a lot to be said for Barbarian at the Gate
Yeah.
for that strategy.
And it was funny because we went into that like, yeah, we're going to open this school. And they're like, oh, I don't know. And then we kind of saw the process. And we're like, oh, like this isn't that crazy. And we kind of backed off, but didn't tell them that. And then we went in like, no, we're going to turn school. Like, what if we give you these laptops? Well, okay.
What if we give you this whole row of classrooms? What if we do this? What if we do this?
So our last year, they let us hire a math teacher and a science teacher. We did the interview process. The principal of the high school wasn't involved at all. She was very supportive in that way, where she was very happy to be out of the way.
Was this because the school within the school was like basically for the most challenged kids?
It was to join when they were in. Essentially, what happened was they were in houses in 9th grade, and then there were 7 different SLCs that had different themes.
Smaller.
So moving from 9th to 10th, they could apply. They could just do their list of which ones they wanted. We were always accused of getting the best kids. The reality is, we got like of our whole student population we got like some really awesome kids, because we were known for being the most work, most challenging. So we got these really awesome kids, and then we got the kids who didn't turn in the paperwork. So we had a real, but these kids were off, like a lot of those kids that never turned in paperwork became our student mentors, and they were some pretty amazing kids.
Yeah.
So, are you guys a charter?
No, we're LUSD pilot school.
A pilot school, okay.
Yeah, we use Boston Pilot. There's 51 pilot schools in Los Angeles, and you'll notice in Kim's book on the map, she only has 12 that are actually teacher center. Because just having the name doesn't matter. You actually have to do something with it. And I think a lot of people became charters and or pilot schools as more of an FU to the district than promoting a plan. We actually had a plan. There was something we wanted to do. So pilot school, charters, that was just a tool. We had something we wanted to do. And it's a difference between running from something, running from the district, or running to your plan. We had a very concrete plan. We knew what we wanted to do. And that's why, again, there's 51 of us in just LA, but only 12 of them show up on the map.
Yeah, we're all still a union. We have the union pay scale. Our students we're in a zone of choice, so there was 7, now 6, because one school turned to a magnet. So there's 6 schools, 2 large comprehensive high schools, 3 small schools on our campus, and then 1 more small school on another campus. So when the students that live in the zone of the boundaries of those schools, when they're finishing 8th grade at school, they fill in a little application, but it's just, I would like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. They throw them all into a randomized computer drawing. Don't ever say lottery. Randomized computer drawing, and that's how they say like when 98% get their first choice.
Yeah, you're full when you're full. It's not a lottery, and there's no waiting list. You go to the second
no.
choice if we're full.
So we just take neighborhood kids. We have no influence over that.
Do you have a profile of a student or a family that chooses you as a first choice? Do you have a sense of?
Ultimately, right now, we look at that a lot. We started in 2000, it was just myself and an English teacher. We go, wouldn't it be great if, while I was doing World War I, I had an English teacher who did All Quiet on Western Front. She goes, I'll do that. And it's literally where it started. A few years later, we added grade levels. Just been in since the beginning of that. What we noticed over the years is we get kids with a ton of issues. We get those tiger moms and tiger dads where they feel like the school's going to save their kid. That's probably about like 10% of our kids. And the rest, because it is so high, we're considered to be very rigorous. Like we don't back up on expectations, irrespective of what language you speak. Like we're going to push you. We get a lot of kids that don't turn in the application. They got to show them somewhere. So you get this gamut. And when you actually run the data out of the 7 choices or whatever they have, 13 choices for the incoming freshmen, we usually end up in the lower path, but we're at about 4th from the bottom. And then they end up being the best when they leave. Test scores and graduation rate. And I'll show you the data in a second.
Great, thank you.
Welcome. The staffing autonomies, the autonomies we have in our MOU is staffing, budget, calendar, curriculum, and assessment. And this is where we started. We just wanted our own curriculum, we wanted our own assessments. That's where we started, and we got greedy. We were very successful with our own curriculum, our own standardized, our own interdisciplinary essays, and we wanted more. Well, damn, what if we had control of this too, and this too? And so that's really where it came out of, was teachers pushing the envelope from the beginning. Taking a step back.
Yeah, I mean, this is when we look at, we're a restorative justice school. We're now a model school in the LAUSD. I was just pausing, let you guys want to make sure you read it. As a school we have a principal and we have an assistant principal. We work together. I mean, that's really what it comes down to, is that he just has, Jose has a job description that he fills, and so do all of us. He would much rather work with us, so if you have a teacher that's struggling, if you have someone who is, just like with our students, have a student that's struggling, a student that's not following the rules, let's work with them. Like, let's not write them up that day. Let's not just give them an intention. Let's find out what's going on so that we can be a very collective group, finding the solutions we need for our kids. And sometimes we need solutions for the adults. And sometimes we struggle. Sometimes we struggle. I struggled a lot the second half of the first year. I just had my first kid, and we had like 17 or 18 teachers. It was Jose and our counselor in the office. We were really understaffed. We still had 500 kids. And so I was like sleep deprived, trying to figure out how to raise a kid. And I just showed up to class the first time. And I just walked to my seniors and I said, I'm really tired. And I'm kind of grumpy, and I'm probably going to yell at you at some point. And just when I do, understand why, and remind me. And like the first time, I was just like, would you guys just shut up? And they're like, Austin, are you cool? But no, you know what, you're right, I'm tired. I apologize for that. Like, thank you for giving me space. And so we had to do that to everyone. That's how that's how our principal works with us. It's like, let's give someone space, let's give them a chance to figure out what's going on before we start writing up. Because the district wants them to write everybody up for everything. And that's just not where we work.
The staffing autonomy is really weak because we have to choose from a list of, we're still work with unions, we have to choose from a list of people to contract now in the USD. Well, since we opened the school, the year we opened was the lowest part of was our lowest budget. It's been horrible ever since. We've never been able to hire off the list. And so we have to hire from a list. Like, you get to hire whomever you want from this list. And so this has been incredibly important. I'm not going to coerce people. I'm not going to physically force them, but I can work with them. Power over is weak. Power with, you have leverage. And it really is with students as well. You can scream and yell as much as you want. But when you become a learner with them, not the expert, it changes the paradigm.
I think it's hard. It's probably, I don't know if it's harder. Maybe you have an opinion on this. Harder for you or harder for us. I think it's still hard for us as teachers, especially teachers who are coming from other schools, from other experiences that are used to having the principal in their office who once in a while makes an appearance and gives you some kind of, well, you gotta do this better. And I think we struggled with, no, like, he's not gonna come do that. Like, he's not gonna, like, don't go to him and complain about the broken copier, fix the broken copier. And it's been a struggle for us, and I don't know if it's a struggle for you in that sense, but.
I just knew that in my old school as a new teacher, I just was very receptive. I'd already been a firefighter. I was already in the Peace Corps. I didn't get to teaching until I was 29. So I had some life experience, and I realized if I went to a boss with a problem, they're like, dude, got enough problems, thanks. If I went to them with the solution, it was a completely different response. Well, I'd be more than happy. And it's amazing how many principals feel like that. They have to put up the front because everybody's always trying to rip them down, that they know what they're talking about. They realize that there's a gap between their credibility, between what you think they can do and what they can actually do. So they have to have short man's complex. They got to put their chin up, they got to act tough. The reality is they'd love for you to come with a solution. They would love for you to go, I got a field trip, and here's my solution. I really want these textbooks, and I put it in on Donors Choose. Dude, I will support you fully because I'm trying to provide cover fire so you can do your job. I'm taking some hits. I'd love for you to come up with some solutions at this point. The biggest paradigm shift was for teachers. Teachers coming in, because when I did that, so I'm going to treat my teachers the exact same way. Teachers coming in, many wanted to follow the path of least resistance, and just tell me what to do, Jose. Just tell me what to do, and just like the kid, the high-performing kid, how do I get an A? I don't want to think. We have a very endearing term for them. We call them point whores. And I meant that the mentality is a very capitalistic thing. How do I just get the best? I don't want to... Everybody wants a transaction. Nobody wants a transformation. I'm going for transformational change when a lot of people just want the transaction. I want my students, it's not what you get out of this, it's what you become of it. And that's exactly how I feel about my teachers. Building their capacity is just as important. So me just giving you the answer, I solve nothing. I can solve all your problems, but are you sure you want to give me that power? Are you sure you want me to? I'll do it. I'll tell you exactly what to do every day. But are you sure you want to surrender that? So I take a step back constantly. Jose, we need textbooks. Oh my God, what are we going to do about that? The best thing you can do is raise a problem at a staff meeting, and I go, I'm so glad you volunteered to do that. You are amazing. Thank you. Like, what just happened? You're welcome.
I can clearly say he doesn't know anything about our textbooks. He knows we have
Not
them.
a damn thing.
He knows we have them, and he knows. I went to him with our math team said we.
Well, that's not true. I had the history ones. I wrote those.
Oh, he did write. He helped write our econ book, but and the history book. That's true. But when our math team wanted to switch to an integrated math instead of the algebra, geometry, algebra 2 path, and we're the only school in LUSD that does that. So they came up with, well, here's the book we would like. And so I handled talking to the book company, getting the order together, and we paid for some, and then
Well, you told me what you wanted, and
Right.
I got that part.
and he handled the budgeting part, and then the next year we added some more of those books. And so I just slipped it under in between a bunch of different other orders and gave it to the district, and then the book showed up.
And this summer, they tried to take away that right. Because according to the UC system, you need to have 2 schools in a district doing the same curriculum in order for it to count on a kid's transcript when they apply to college. UCLA, UC Berkeley, the UC system. And I fought tooth and nail to keep integrated math 1, 2, and 3. I could not do a problem in one of those books, but they were not going to take it from me. If they asked me what was in the books, I had no idea. But my teachers wanted it. I asked them, the non-negotiable was, you will know your content, you will know how to teach it, and you'll build relationships. What do you need from me? We need this book. Jeff, make this happen. Jeff, what do you need from me? So I'm fighting like hell. I don't even know what's in those things. It could be porn. I have no idea. But I know my teachers wanted it, and that's all I needed. Because I laid down the non-negotiables, from my perspective. As a crew, we laid down our non-negotiables.
Wait, will you mention those 3 again? You know.
You'll see it right now.
Oh,
You'll see it.
okay, sorry.
The product, though, from all of this, we're already like way behind.
I know.
We opened up with seniors. We're the only school in Los Angeles to open a senior. I'm the only principal to ever be hired in Los Angeles without an administrative credential. I was in the process of getting it. The only one ever, and it's because, honestly, a lot of Jeff's leadership. I couldn't advocate for myself, obviously. And it was a matter of the teachers going, no, you gave us a school, now let us run it, let us run it. And I think a lot of people have regretted it ever since, because I'm exactly like this at every principal's meeting. And there's 123 high school principals. And it's too urgent to be quiet. The moral imperative is real. So, right off the bat, we had our state test scores. The 727 is the highest. It's API, Academic Performance Index. It's the highest non-magnet school in Los Angeles. The first year we opened. And we're 3 blocks from the projects. The context we'll show you in a second. We had 4 suspensions in 5 years. 2 of these happened 2 weeks ago. A lot of our kids are taking Xanax right now. The effects of poverty. It looks much like stress, violence, and poverty. It looks much like a PTSD on the body, what it does to the body. Kids are self-medicating. So they're taking Xanax. One of my kids, Guillermo, brought 68 of them to school and was selling them for $5 a hit. Soldiers, when they get back from Iraq, take half a dab. They were taking 4 at a time. 250-pound Army Rangers take half. They were taking 4 at a time because fight or flight is overwhelming. They're thinking from this part of the vein, we're trying to get them to this part. I need to run, I don't feel safe. And we're trying to get them here. They just shorted out. So I had to suspend 2, and one of them got expelled. It's a category 1 offense. The state of California made the decision for me. And the minute that happened, I started, no joke, started writing my resume and realized it was time to move on because I could no longer control the destiny of my kids. I do not need to send them to prison. Guillermo needed to be treated, not punished. Alonzo, the one who actually got expelled, he needed to be treated, not punished. And now he's been punished. And I can't help him. And I am absolutely looking to get out now. I don't know what that is, though. I don't know what that looks like. 94% graduation rate. In the context, that's not that big of a deal. But when you realize the district average is 72.
Wow.
87% of our seniors are eligible for the CSU and UC system. California State University. That's like CSUN and whatever. There's like 29 of them.
San Diego State.
UC, LA, UC Berkeley, UC Riverside, and the district average is 17. Our matriculation rate, going from 9 to 10, 10 to 11, our number 1 goal is get our 9th graders to 10th grade. If you get a 9th graders, 10th graders, a whole school rallied behind those 9th graders, they're probably going to graduate. Most studies show, if you pass 9th grade English, 9th grade math, you're probably going to graduate. So that's our job. If we can help them matriculate. I have no idea why the hell it's that low. I don't know why. How do you have a graduation rate this high? I don't understand. So there's something in there that I know it's a data snafu. Student Steering Committee is what we call data with a soul. This is the students telling us what works. This is next Friday. We give them a list of questions. They go back to their advisory. The teacher steps outside and they talk to their advisory. They go over these questions. What works, what doesn't, what should we change? How can we push you without pushing you out the door? And then they come back and they meet, their representatives meet with the teachers, the 9th grade team, 10th grade team, and they give us information back. It's very empowering for the students. We take it very seriously. And it provides us with great data.
Groups? I'm sorry. Is that about individuals or about groups?
By group.
We sit in grade levels, so we work in grade levels, not by history, English, whatever departments. So each advisory chooses like 2 students to represent, and so all the 10th grade teachers sit with a group of like 8 to 10 10th grade students, and they have their opinions and then their friends' notes and all the comments, and they share them directly with their teachers.
And we sit there and listen. They put them on Post-its. They do a fishbowl. They'll talk about us, and we're on the outside. It's hard sometimes, and we also know they don't get sometimes why we do stuff, and we tell them this is why we do that. This is why, and it's just a great conversation, and it's hard for the new teachers, especially people from like, we get people that have been displaced, other teachers come from other schools, 25 years experience, are like, I'm gonna listen to a student? Yeah, you will.
How do you compose your student steering committees? I mean, are those students elected by the students, or are they chosen by you? Are you having every grade level present? I mean, how?
Yeah, every grade level is present. Our teachers meet in grade levels, and we'll go over that in a second. The 9th grade team, the students will tell we're having a student steering committee who would like to represent they'll raise their hand. We also have ambassadors, which were elected at the beginning of the year. So it's usually the ambassador and 1 or 2 other kids. So it's, when they meet with the grade level teams, it's usually about 20 kids and the teacher, so they're not alone, facing their teachers. And we have a really cool atmosphere, so the kids know there's not gonna be retaliation. And it's pretty harsh sometimes. Like there's a few teachers get beat up, and that's why I'm in the hallway with the Kleenex. But they need to hear some of this stuff. I mean, professionals need to listen to their clients. If we're gonna call ourselves professionals, we gotta listen to our clients. And these are just the surveys from our students. In their own communities, 24% of them feel safe, 98% of them feel safe on our campus. I'm meeting with the parents right after Thanksgiving, and I'm gonna tell them that. My teachers are doing their job. I need your help. On your street, they don't feel safe. In my classrooms, they do. What can we do about that? Because as we know, those kids are only with us 6-7 hours a day. The rest of it, I can't control. Yes?
One more question, how large is your school?
Well, I'll show you right now. The context, it's 513 kids. Well, 509 now.
509. So this is kind of like giving us an idea of what our community looks like. So half of our fathers completed 3rd grade, 29% of our parents have graduated high school. I mean, we're really right on the border between San Fe and Pacas. Those are 2 big games. What we've done, I mean, maybe it is respect. I mean, we've had some of these kids come through our schools, and we don't have a lot of problem with the gangs. It's when they get, I mean, it's like literally sometimes when they walk outside our gate, but within the school we're okay. But you can see the poverty our kids are facing. Free or reduced lunch, 90%. LA now has breakfast too, so all of our students get breakfast. That was a big fight. The big fight, the union complaint was that it would create bug problems.
Well, it's more work for teachers.
And it's more work. When my kids get breakfast, they get breakfast. We kind of push them to get it. I want to push all of my kids to take the breakfast because then the kid who really needs it doesn't feel isolated in that. But a lot of them just do it. A lot of kids just take it.
Some of it's the only meal you get that day.
Some of our kids eat 3 meals on our campus. They get the breakfast, they get their free lunch, and then we have an after-school provider that provides snacks at 4:30 or so sometimes, and that's sometimes all they get. So a lot of them need that stuff, and so we're facing that. Most of our students, English is their 2nd language. We were just noticing yesterday, your super impressive students at Avalon, even the little 7th grade kid, his language and vocab is more advanced than most of our kids. And they're facing a huge language issue. That's our issue. You can get into your issues. Every school has one. We were just so impressed with them, and we're like, wow, we really need to push our English development.
And it was the crazy thing is my teachers do a great job with tier 1 and tier 2 vocabulary. Words to know, words to go, all that stuff. But the thing that trips us up are the words we can't anticipate. Yesterday, the 7th grader said, my teachers nudge me. Guarantee you 90% of my kids would not know what nudge meant. They would understand ubiquitous, they wouldn't get nudge. They would have lost the meaning. We're reading poetry in our advisory. We just read this one poem about the cold within, about racism. And they was talking about, they broke down the poem, they got all the vocab. And the one that got them hung up on, the bitter taste. Bitter. What does bitter mean? And a few kids creating those relationships so they feel brave enough to ask that question because it wasn't the word we thought it was going to be. And it's just the straw that broke the camel's back. My kids don't know what that means. it's the same. It's very, very culturally based. Anyways,
And we're doing this with like the least funding of states in the country. When we've had people come up to us and ask, how many kids do you have? Oh, we have 509. 45, 50 teachers? Like 27. And that was a lot of scrimping and saving and cutting, and we sold, we were renting out the building at night to people to sleep. No, I mean, we're cutting where we can cut. Try not to make so many copies. When you do make copies, make sure there's no black on them because they use more ink. I mean, our teachers have what they need, but we're like, where we can save, let's save, because that's this math teacher. Like that's, when we look at our scheme, this English teacher is first to go. It's not because of them, it's because we're gonna run out of money. So, and we're working with some pretty limited resources. And our kids, they don't know college. They know what jail is like. They have people all around them who've been in jail. Some of them have. When we take them to colleges, we take them south in the fall and they go visit UC San Diego, San Diego State, UC Irvine. Some of them, that's their first time out of the valley. For most of them, it's their first time out of university. Take them north in the spring, they go to Berkeley, Stanford, Chico, Santa Barbara, Davis, all these schools all up north. And now when they walk off, this is the best part, they get off the bus, and the tour guides are there, and it's our alumni. Oh, hey, you were my mentor when I was in 10th grade. It's cool to see. It's cool for us because I get to go, when I go, I get to see my former students at their schools. So it's a reality. That's what we're trying to work around. And I really think that if our kids saw a principal bossing teachers around, they would be like, oh, that's the same old thing. But they know, I mean, he knows all their names, and they all see him. They know he's a principal, but they also know that he's going to defer to us on a lot of things.
I'll make it a point to let them know when I don't know something. How do I get my locker? I gotta see Mr. Austin about that. I'm not sure. Like, the big cheese, okay? Like, I don't know anything. But I really do try to like point out the resources. 50 to 50, the reason we always point that out is because we're the 9th largest economy. California's the 9th largest economy in the world. And we're behind Mississippi in how much money we spend on education. Mississippi's a poor state in the United States.
There's nobody in Mississippi. That's a cool thing.
No, they can't afford to come. Well, we were here because they paid for it. And then 3 Latinos, there really was a point where we looked around our school and we could have, I was a California Teacher of the Year in 2009. LA County, LAUSD Teacher of the Year. We could easily shut our door, shut our mouths, and I could ride into retirement. No one would ever bother me. I could have sat in my bungalow where they filmed that video for the rest of my career. But there's a point where because we're very zen, because we're from California and we do yoga and stuff like that, people always tell us, you need to accept things, Jose. Jose, you just need to accept these things you can't change. And it really became a point, I can no longer accept these things I can't change. We have to change the things we can't accept. And it really was, like, we just can't take this anymore. Our kids deserve better than this. This is not going to change until we do something about it. And it's the exact same thing for African American youth. African American males specifically. So when I did get a chance, Linda Nathan, Boston Arts Academy, she asked me to come speak to her class at Harvard. And I was out there, I was speaking for Facing History Ourselves at their benefit, and then Linda Nathan asked me, so well, let me go check out your school. This is like the mothership of all pilot schools. So I went to the school, and it was awesome. I was so impressed and depressed. 450 students. They had a principal, assistant principal, office manager, 2 office techs, coordinator, grant writer, 2 counselors, and 50 teachers. Massachusetts.
Massachusetts plus an enormous amount of fundraising from the private sector.
This wasn't including that though.
Oh, it is. But go ahead.
Well, because she had like another 8 teachers they paid for off from their foundation, which was crazy. So she had 58 teachers. 513 students, this was that year. We had a principal, a counselor, an office manager, a half-time office tech, and 19 teachers. The exact same year. So when you look at the context in which we're doing the work, and you look at the results, we have to work together. Help is not going to come from the outside. We have to work together. So this was always, I shared this with my staff, shared this with my teachers, I shared the budget with them. So yeah, we'll go and buy you another printer for your classroom, but understand that means we're going to have to cut this. Being very transparent with the budget, servant leadership. So, our vision.
I think it's in the thing later, right? You've got the pyramid. when we were talking about this, about Maslow's hierarchy and how in that pyramid, you know, that's the peak. And I looked at it, because I'm in a master's admin program right now too, and we've looked at it. I just realized, like, at my previous school, I could never get out of the bottom because I never felt safe. I had the principal my first year teaching there. I still think it was the classroom that helped contribute. I was in a classroom they bought from like the military. It was like, at that point, I think it was 60 years old. It was like a portable classroom. It had one window. And then during Christmas break, someone broke in through the window, so they boarded it up. And it had this wall unit air conditioner that just spat out water and I don't know what else. So she came to observe me, and I had bronchitis. I sounded worse than I do now. And I was walking dead. I was first year. I didn't want to take a day off. Like, I just took my medication, and I figured I was better than the sun. And she came in and just gave me the worst evaluation and never said a word to me. Like, never came in and I said, yeah, I'll take that hit. Like, it was a bad day. I felt horrible. Never knew. Next year she came back. Wow, she's like, you just showed such incredible growth over the year. And she, when I got national board certification, she announced it to the staff. Well, she ended the staff meeting, so everyone's getting up, and she goes, oh yeah, by the way, new national board teacher, Dan Austin. And then when we were leaving the school, she was really nice, just gave us little plaques. So she went and every teacher, oh, you know, Mr. Navarro, just an amazing teacher, we're going to miss him. And she got down and went through all of us who were leaving. She's like, okay, well, thank you. She's like, I have one extra. I don't know why. Well, I didn't get my flag.
John Austin.
John Austin. She called me John that day because our quarterback was John. So I'm never gonna get out of that bottom. I'm never gonna get up to where I can find my self-actualization, where I get to be creative as a teacher. I was always wondering what the hell she was gonna do. And I don't worry about that. Like, I have, all of our teachers know they have a principal who is going to support what they need to do in a classroom. Principal and assistant principal, the staff around them, we go watch each other, give each other feedback. It's different, and I think we can move up that chain a little bit better.
This year, I'm going to present it to the staff. I want to change this, and we'll see what they say. I don't think I'm a problem. We will achieve self-actualization, because it's a social justice issue for teachers as well. They're being underserved. They are also being exploited and treated poorly. Don't even get me into principals. Yeah, I mean, you really have no idea what principals go through. Every day, my credential's on the line. Every field trip, every time a kid slips, a teacher slips, I am going to be sued. I'm currently being sued right now. And I was told if you're not being sued, you're probably not doing your job. So I don't really want to get in, but this self-actualization, I want that for everybody, all of our stakeholders. I don't care if you want to be a nurse, you want to be a doctor, if you want, whatever, I don't care. Career pathway, I think, is so gimmicky. It's great if you do it. For me, it's gimmicky. I want you to, whatever you want to go into, be the best at it. And like Jeff always says, be the one that changes the field. But I just want our kids, whatever gifts they bring to the table. Ishmael Bea, he was an author that wrote A Long Way Gone about children soldiers. And I got a chance to hear him speak. And he says, what I've noticed, the reason I do this, I travel around the world, and I give all this money away, and I do all this stuff, is because I noticed that talent is everywhere, but opportunity is not. Talent is everywhere, but opportunity is not. And I want, like, my children to be able, my students and my teachers to be able to really fully feel safe, feel like they're physiological, all their needs are met, that they can just actually get to this part of the brain and move from the fight or flight. The reptilian, like, run, I'm scared, to enlightened evolution. Our mission is to achieve social justice, the complete individual, by increasing our students' social capital and their humanity while creating a school where their own children. I was laughed at by the, kind of like you're laughing right now. We use this laser.
Just stretching out the belly.
I was laughed at in the boardroom because they said it was so flighty and esoteric. And 4 years later, or whatever, 5 years later, now the socio-emotional stuff is 40% of our report card.
Nice.
We win. We were right all along. That you do have to tend to people's hearts if you're ever going to get to their minds. And so this is very important to us, the social capital. We're trying to help our kids get through a system that wasn't designed for them. It's not designed for brown and black kids. It's not designed for the culture. It's not. We need to help them navigate the system, And that's social capital. They need to be able to raise their hand and not look like a weak Latina. They need to be able to go out at night and still go out and see their friends and be a young black man, and not be feared that the minute they go outside in the dark, they're gonna get beat. They need to figure out how to navigate that system though, because it's not set up for them. Their own humanity is very important to us, but ultimately, we're their own children. It just became hypocritical to think that I would do something to this person's kid that I don't want done to my own kid. It's that simple to us. My children, Elmitra, Ozias, I always, when I'm dealing with a student, when I had to expel Alonzo, like I wanted to take the day off, I wanted to think about it because that's somebody's child. And Jeff, this is Abigail, she was born when we opened up the school, and now little Maddie. We're the own children.
It's a good, I don't like guilt my kids out of things, but I've told a few kids, like, when you come and yell at me, like, I'll pull out my phone and show them a picture, like, I'm her daddy, and you're yelling at me. Like, I take care of that little cute girl. And you're like,
So the vision and the mission, incredibly important to us, and we really mean it. We revamp it every year, and we never revamp it. We put it on the table, we're like, anything that want to change, do you hear your voice here? Your ideal school, wherever you want to work, what do you hope it does for kids? Is it covered here? Our mantra, what are we doing? What are we doing to ensure that our students are successful? What are we doing they're not? What are we doing they are successful? And how do we know it's working? We look at our data every 5 weeks. We change on a dime. And there's a paradox of leadership. Is that you need to stay steadfast, never compromise, vision and mission. But when you have new data, you got to change course. So we reconcile the two. Is that changing course based on new data is part of what we do. Does that make sense? They're supposed to be diametrically opposed. They're part of the same for us. Doing what's right for our students means changing our minds sometimes.
What's the data that you look at?
We have there's actually, we look at our number one thing we look at is attendance. Kids don't come to a school where they don't feel safe. Kids don't come to school where they don't feel cared for, relevant, rigorous, relationships. Then we look at GPAs. Then we look at crazy shit like multiple intelligences. We look at
40 assets.
our 40 assets. Now we're looking at our love language. My wife and I were talking about our love languages. I always buy you gifts this last summer. And you don't, like, babe, I'm like 17 years together. I love shopping. I'm like 25% like female. I love shopping. And she's like, yeah, I'll get her something. I'm like, look at this. And she's like, huh? Look, how did you do that? I can't believe you did that. I was always hitting the wrong love language. She didn't care about gifts. Do you guys know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
There's 5 languages of love.
Yeah.
I never heard about this. This is like 20 years old.
No, I don't.
Yeah, check it out. There's at the end. I'll show you the book. Okay, it's at the end. If you want to stay afterwards. But I go, this would be kind of cool to share with my staff because I'm always telling Jeff, good job, good job, good job. But if that's not how he receives love, quote unquote, then I'm missing the mark. And so it was just another thing to talk to our kids. We're giving the test to our kids. I did it with my mentor class, the class I teach. I did it the love language for teenagers. They took it, my mentors did. They're my guinea pigs, because the class I teach. Then they took it home with their parents. It's like, see, Mom? Look at that. I'm trying to talk to you, and you're texting. I need quality time. Whoa, like that next day, it blew their mind. So now we're going to do it with the whole school after Thanksgiving. But the idea was, now as a leader, like, wow, how can I use this? So there's one called the language of appreciation. Appreciation in the workplace. There's a code at the back of the book. It's kind of different. The other one's free online. The one for workplace, I had all my teachers take it, and then we made a list. And it was interesting how many people, and you could see how it's set up for failure. Because all my teachers want quality time. They just want 5 minutes of my time. You got a sec? You got a sec? And I'm going, hey, good job. Hey, here's a card. Here's a gift certificate. Thanks. Like, cool. In one ear, out the other. What I want, Jose, is 5 minutes of your time. I just want you to sit down with me and listen to my plan. It shifted the way I communicate with my staff. I'm not going to waste time writing a card for somebody. That's just not how they hear it. So I make appointments, and we sit down, and I give them that QT. I found out that's what my wife wanted too. She didn't want the watch. She wanted 5 minutes of my time each day. That's all she wanted.
We have actually a spreadsheet of data. So we have all of our students on this spreadsheet. When you look across it, it's got their 5-week GPA, So in LA, we have every 5 weeks there's a new report card. So with last couple of weeks GPA, we've got all their multiple intelligences. We've got how many of the 40 assets. It gets familiar with 40 assets? So
The Search
there's a lot of-
Institute. The
So a
Search
lot of it's
Institute.
like, I read for pleasure, I participate in activities, that kind of thing, we put that on there. So I can look at a kid who's struggling and go across the whole thing and just see like, oh, we identified that we noticed the lowest asset of all of our kids was reading for pleasure. And I saw that, I'm like, let's fix that. We had a group that came in and ran book clubs. They brought the books, they gave them to the students, and they met once a month and talked about the books, and it was solving a problem. Yeah.
To piggyback on your whole discussion of love languages, I ran into someone who hadn't heard of Strengths Finder. So one thing our school does, and I've done a few times, there's another book similar, code in the back called Strengths Finder, run by Gallup. And so basically your staff takes the online quiz, takes about half an hour, 45. But then instead of working from a position of weakness, you work from a position of strength.
Yeah.
And so then your groups learn what type of persons you are. So it starts that dialogue. Like for me, for example, I was an activator who wants to get started in the day, who is, a certain way. And for the people that are like, hey, how are you doing? I'm like, I'm not interested. That's never been my way. So much like you were saying, to give feedback, it's another, just in case people haven't heard of it, another tool
Right on.
that really works well for establishing that discussion in Strengths Finder.
The idea though is just with all of our data, to add to what we do, it's kind of like a medical file. We look at every 5 weeks, and if a kid is not getting an education, especially in our neighborhood, they're going to die. There's very few opportunities, And like a patient, a medical patient, if they're dying, you need to try new things. So we look at their multiple intelligence. We look at as many data points. We just introduced love language this year. We're looking at their SELT scores, their Lexile, everything we can to get a better profile how we can help this kid, because they're our patients. And the more we know, like a doctor, the more we can help them. And that's how I view this data. So whatever data we can get our hands on, we look at
And we'll take
every
these,
5 weeks.
we'll take these and we'll put the kid's name in the middle, and then we'll go write a lot of the data around it, and then start coming up with solutions for them. And that's what we do in our data days, is we'll just,
This whole presentation is all the things we do, and there's really just no way to get to all of it. But we'll go ahead and take your question.
Well, you said turn on a dime. I was just curious if you had an example. Like pedagogically, that means lots of different things in different classrooms. So
At our 5 week grades, we look at our multiple intelligences, and all the kids on the red list, 2.0 and below, we noticed that 37% of them were body kinesthetic. That was information I give to my teachers, and the next day they could change their lessons. We noticed that the asset of not reading for pleasure, not participating in musical instruments. Now we have a drum circle. Well, we had it. Now we have folklorico, folk dancing. But not participating in any after school activities. We got a grant, a $250,000 grant for after school activities, because these were assets they didn't have. So like right away, we go to funders, like these are the assets. Can you help us out? Our kids are lacking. The Search Institute, if a kid has like 17 out of 40, they're going to jail. Like all this, they have all these studies on this stuff. The Search Institute, 40 developmental assets.
well, what's the little,
Just to follow up on that, Search Institute now has a new research and new program they're rolling out on how to build relationships with, between the kids and the adults. It's great stuff, you might want to look at it.
cool.
Excellent. Yeah, we brought in the 7 Habits of Highly Effective Teens. We brought in growth mindset, everything we can to get our kids to rally around this stuff. But we have to ask these questions, and I know you guys have heard of a lot of this stuff, but I think the difference between effective schools is a fidelity. The fidelity in which you implement these things. Because EduBabble is, everybody's got a new program. We stick to certain things, and we stick hard. Multiple intelligences, understanding by design, this is nothing new. It's fidelity. It's fidelity. The idea of humanity. The Holocaust survivor spoke to me, Leon Layson gave us this letter. He was the youngest member of Schindler's List. He's passed away 3 years ago. He was a teacher for 35 years in LUSD. Nobody ever knew who he was. I got a chance to speak to him, and his whole point was, teach our kids to be more human. I'm suspicious of education because I've seen college-educated people kill babies. So don't give me education is not going to solve our problems. And so this is up in every one of our classrooms. It's our what and our why. And sometimes it's even our how. If we're not sure what to do, we address the humanity of the room.